First date fears. So in this video, Terrence and I are going to talk about how we overcame the fear of when we first met each other in person, when we first saw each other. So, but before we do...
Yes, with Terrence and Jill of God-Ordained Union, we are here to do one thing and one thing only. That is to help increase a God-Ordained unions.
Yes. And so our mission on this channel is to help you get to your person. Just doing our little part by sharing our story, our testimonies, giving you some insight about how good people operate when they want to be married. And so that's what we do on this channel. We also expose the enemy. There's some things that could be blocking you, things you could be saying, some generational patterns that's going on. So we help to expose the enemy because the word says that we are to know the tricks and schemes of the enemy because the enemy doesn't want you to be married. And those messages are so pushed in our society, and they're even coming through from loved ones. You know, that loved one that says, don't you ever get married, girl, because it ain't all that it's supposed to be. So on this channel, we are encouraging you to be married. The word says two are better than one. And I'm going to tell you, we both were super single and independently, successfully single. But we realized our lives went to another level once we got married. So we do a whole nother level. And so we point you back to the word of God because that is our foundation. And there's no way you can do marriage without three what they call three chords.
Yes.
You can't do it. It's impossible to do it just the two of you. You've got to rely on the Lord and the Holy Spirit to guide you. And so that's what we do on this channel. We're Terrence and Jill, as my husband said. And so, to learn more about us, we have a private group. We do one-on-ones. Go to our website. The link is below, GodOrdainedUnion.com. And anything I missed, baby?
Yeah, and just know this, that we're here to support you.
Yes.
We're here to support you. So anything that you think you've gone through, you think you're the only one, you think that God hadn't heard you, you think that you have been forgotten. It's not true. It's not true. That's what the enemy wants you to think. But we're here to help you understand that, you know what? Keep doing what you're doing. Keep believing in God. Keep telling him what you want. And never, ever doubt your faith because he's working on you right now.
Yes. And put yourself in a position to receive what you've been praying for.
Absolutely.
All right. So we've been hearing a lot of people talk about their fears, and we've been talking about fears for the last couple of weeks. A lot of people talking about their fears, especially the fears of being social and going out. And so for a lot of you all, it's you could do the behind the closed doors thing. But when it's time to go out and actually have a date and meet this person in person, that's where the fears come in. And so everybody's nervous, when they don't know, what know another person. But we're going to share today how we got over it. For those of you who don't know our story, we're married. We got married in 2022, so we've been married for 3.5 years. But we were talking before that, and so we'll talk about that. But yeah, we were older when we got married. I was 52 when I walked down the aisle.
I was 54 as I watched her walk down the aisle.
Yes. And so that is enough to say, wow, how did you do it? So we're going to share with you what it was like when we first saw each other for the first time. So this is how we got over our fears. How we do it, baby?
Well, number one, we got here, deliverance from the spirit of fear.
Yeah. Even well before we knew each other.
Yeah. And that's something that is critical don't think you should wait until you meet somebody before you ask God to deliver you from some things. Go ahead and build that relationship and allow God to work on you right now, just to put you in a better situation, better prepare you for who he has for you. So go ahead and if you know those are things that you are experiencing right now, go ahead and ask for deliverance from it right now.
Get your deliverance.
Yeah, go and get your deliverance right now. Because you don't know. You might be the one that has to help that other person with some deliverance because you've already gone through it and you know how to recognize it, and they may not know. So, yeah, don't wait. Go ahead and get that deliverance right now.
I know for me personally, I was dealing with rejection. And so for me, it was easy to reject a person before they rejected me because I did not like to be rejected. And so if you think you're going through some fears, you can ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen? And if you're thinking about a date, the worst thing that can probably happen is that the person won't like you. And you may, and then you ask yourself, how would that make you feel? And most people will say, well, that will make me feel rejected. So then you'll know what to ask the Lord for in deliverance. If you're dealing with the spirit of fear, because again, there's a difference between being nervous going on a first date or second, third date. It's a difference between having a little nervousness and having a spirit of fear. A lot of us have a spirit of fear. And so if you are not delivered from the spirit of fear, what happens is that you can go and on that first date and you will look at that person through the lens of fear, which that ends up being like sabotaging the date and picking out faults and evaluating them based on your fears. And so you're going to get them before they get you. And you're going to, take out a good person just because you got this issue. And so that was the first thing. Over the years, I had, asked the Lord to deliver me from rejection, which is based in a spirit of fear. And so, I think we came in to the meeting for the first time. You were
I think mine was a little different too, because I was one of those people that I'm very secure who I am. But I've learned something that I think has helped me over the years. And that is, I think my desire to be with the right person was stronger than any fear of not wanting to approach a person to even find out if they was going to be the right person. So with me, it was like, look, you might be afraid of her saying no or rejecting you or something, but you're more afraid of going by yourself and not finding the person, knowing that you didn't even put the effort out to even approach somebody. So you know what? Yeah, chalk it up, go up there, say hello, see if she, give her the opportunity to say yes, just like you would give her the opportunity to reject you. So that's how I looked at it. It was like, you know what? The fear of her saying no or rejecting me wasn't as great as my fear of saying,
you're going to be alone.
I'm going to be alone. And I didn't even take the opportunity to even try to meet somebody.
Wow.
So I was looking so forward, but I'm not going to lie, I was a little nervous. Because we had talked for so long.
Which goes into number two.
Number two is we had time to get to know each other by phone and by text.
Right.
And when I say get to know each other, I mean, it was probably close to a year that we spoke by phone and text each other before actually even meeting each other for the first time face to face.
That might not work for everybody, but that worked for me. And apparently it worked for Terrence. Yeah.
And I think, the funny thing is we both have described ourselves on several videos in the very beginning as being homebodies.
Yeah.
Then you had to add into the fact that the pandemic was there.
Yeah.
So that put some restrictions that we both could easily say it's not our fault. They won't let us go out. You know what I mean? But what it did, I think, it helped relax us to the point to where we wasn't looking to try to impress each other. We were just being honest. We was being open. We was being authentically us. And I think that year of conversing by phone, by texting, I think it really gave us a great foundation to when we got to the point of meeting each other for the first time face to face, we had a lot about each other that we already knew and we was comfortable with. So I think that played a big part in us seeing each other for the first time.
I have to put a pin in this. So that was number 2, but I've got to put a pin in this because the Lord just gave me this. When it's the right person, God will shift the atmosphere.
Hallelujah.
To make it work. He will shift the way the world is going to make it work, to make this thing that he purposed happen. And so, and don't get it twisted, you've had those moments. You may not realize it, but you've had those moments when, say for instance, I don't know, say you got a new job and say you got a new job and then you realize, I mean, everything happened at this. I got a new job. I was able to get a new house. It was like everything was shifting to accommodate that season that God had ordained for you. And so that's what happened for us. It was like everything shifted. And that's why a lot of people say pandemic was the worst thing. Not for us.
Not for us.
Not for us. It shifted. It made everything work in our favor. Even how the wedding was planned. Even how Terrence proposed and how the wedding was pushed back 16 months so that everybody could be there and not be delayed by the pandemic, and gave people time to, save their money to come and enjoy the, 3 or 4 days with us. So everything, when the word says all things work together for your good, it does. And so that's kind of how, this is a side note, that's kind of how you'll know that when you meet your person, things shift in place. It'd be like, I wasn't nervous with, for whatever reason, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't this, because God makes it. All right,
that goes into a whole nother video, but we've talked about this before, how when you're with the right person, see, none of us are perfect, but when you're with the right person, the things that you have fault, that you recognize about yourself, the other person is going to have grace in that area for you.
Yes.
So some of your fears are going to be taken care of when you're with the right person, because God's going to give them grace for you in that area. So it's not going to be nowhere near the way you thought it was going to be.
And I'm going to tell you how this looks or how this sounds. You'll hear people say, I could just be myself around them. I could just be myself. That is saying that it's
that could be a sign that that's the right person.
That's the right person. You could just be yourself. And so, yeah.
Absolutely.
So number 3.
Number 3 is no expectations.
We say this all the time.
And that right there in itself is huge, because the one thing that I know, as I was driving up the road, I was thinking, I'm good. However this goes, I'm good, because I didn't have any type of storyline in my head of how it should go. I didn't say, well, if she don't do this, or she don't say this, or she don't allow this, or if we have to do this. I didn't put anything in my head of saying that it has to go a certain way. All I knew was I've been talking to her for a year, and I'm finally going to get to see her. And so as I was driving up the road, I won't lie, as I got closer and closer to where she lived, I could feel the butterflies coming, like, okay, this is actually real. It's going to happen. But I really was flexible on how the evening was going to go and how the weekend would go if it lasted the whole weekend. So I was really, really open to whatever was going to happen.
Yeah, because you were saying you were going to get a hotel room. Well, it was only 2 hours. You could have driven back, or you just had no expectation. And I didn't even, when I opened my door, I jumped in his arms.
And that right there was a whole nother video.
And I'm telling you, because I had I didn't expect that I was going to do that. Like that, Jill doesn't do stuff like that. I'm too calm and collected for that. I don't do stuff like that. When we said we had no expectations, I opened that door and he was so laid back and cool. And he just looked at me and I jumped in his arms. I jumped in his arms and
see, that made my never list. You know, because I had told you in our conversing that I never had a person to jump in my arms excited to see me. And I'm telling you this from a standpoint of I've been overseas and come back and watching all these people meet their loved ones and they're running to each other and hugging and jumping and it's like, where are my people? You know, I've always come back to the United States after long trips and training and different things in the military, and there's never been anybody there sitting there waiting on me. So I watched people do that for years. And you jumping in my arms, it was like, wow.
Which that's a whole nother video, because you all have to know it was not because he could not get anybody. It's because his standards was actually walls, and he had a high wall of what he wanted and what he didn't want. So if he didn't have nobody coming to meet him, to pick him up with a military gear on, that's because he didn't want it. That's because we wanted a certain type of person, and that person was not around.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, number 4.
Number 4 is we made a commitment to just enjoy the time that we had together, just to really take advantage of every moment.
Yeah, it was going to be what it's going to be. It goes back to expectations. I was committed to say, I'm going to enjoy this summer. Because that's another thing. I hadn't seen nobody. I think I saw Z. So I can't. So that happened in June. The pandemic shut down. I had just come from, in February, I had just come from with all of my, the women in my family, my sisters, my mom, my cousins, and my girlfriends. We had went to Sag Harbor to New York for my birthday, for my 50th birthday. When I returned back to Raleigh, we immediately went in shutdown, because that was the end of February. We immediately went into shutdown. So I hadn't seen any, and I was talking to you on the phone. Right. But other than, I remember Z coming over to my house, and we had to be socially distanced. She talked to me from the car. And my patio was on the second floor. I remember Z coming to my house, and she came out her car, but we talked from each other from the balcony. Wow. But other than that, like, I was socially distanced. I hadn't seen or talked to anybody. So when I saw Terrence, we was almost breaking laws to see each other. Because they were saying we couldn't go over county lines and crazy stuff.
Yeah, if you had to go certain distances, you had to
get
permission to go. So
yeah. So I was determined. Oh, he coming? Oh, we're gonna make the best out of this time. And that was what. There was no expectations, and I just was like, and I'm like that anyway. I don't care where I go. I don't care where it is. I am going to go. Saying, I don't care how this going to be. I'm going to have me a good time. If there's any type of expectations, I have expectations on myself that you're not going to Debbie down my day. I'm going to have a great time, and I'm going to enjoy myself.
I'm the same way. I'm one of the types of people that I always have a great time. Mm-hmm. And I don't go anywhere looking for something negative. Everywhere I go, I look for something positive. And I believe because I'm looking for something positive, I find it.
Yes.
You know, I believe if you're looking for something negative, you're going to find that too. Right, so it's like, just why don't you flip the coin and just look to have a great time every time you go out to do something, so you find the great time.
Right. So I guess that's what the expectations was. It was an expectation on myself, and it was expectation that God was going to protect me and that all things were going to work together for the good. Because even when he came to see me, it did not mean that we were going to continue. It could have been when he saw me that we decided, you know what, there's no chemistry or there's no next connection. And so, you came. It was a Friday night. It was rainy. I do remember that. It was in June. It was rainy. And I remember telling you, I said, no, it's too much. I got a guest room. I don't want you to drive back. I don't want you to drive back in this rain because it had started and it was dark. And by the time you came, well, no, it was light when you came, but we had ordered a pizza and it was getting dark. And I was like, no, and it was raining really, it was like storming, a summer night. And I said, no, I don't want you to drive back. I said, I have a guest room. And so the next morning, I'm thinking, because I had no expectations, I'm thinking he's going to leave. I mean, but we were flexible. We were open to whatever. So we got up the next morning and he was like, let's go to breakfast. And no, did we go to breakfast?
No, we cooked breakfast.
We cooked breakfast.
Yeah, we cooked breakfast. There wasn't no restaurants open.
Yes, we cooked breakfast. And we couldn't go anywhere, but we could go outside. So, and I remember I said, well, let's go. We can go to the park and go walking. And I remember I had on heels. And we went to the park and we walked. And he still wouldn't leave.
And that was the first time I think we took a picture. A selfie together, I think, when we walked.
I think so.
And I think the first time we took the picture, we was at the lake, like where the cement, part was. And I think we took our first picture together. Right there. Yeah.
And we left the park and we came home. And then you left.
Yeah.
And then you called me. Again, y'all, I still had no expectations. I didn't know if it was, going to be continue. I don't know if, I know that I enjoyed myself, like literally walking around that park. It was giddy. It was butterflies. I was smitten, but I didn't know I can only go by. He didn't want to leave immediately the next morning. And so I just took day by day. And then so you called, of course, the next day, and then the next weekend you had to work because you were on every other weekend. You worked. And then the following weekend, you said, I'm coming back up this weekend. And when you said that, I was like, okay. You was like, I'm gonna stay longer this time. I'll stay till Sunday. I was like, okay.
No.
And it started to be and so that whole summer, you came to see me off and on. I did not go see Terrence. I didn't go to Charlotte or come to Charlotte until October. That whole time from June to October, he was coming to see me. And I went in October, and it was towards the end of October.
Yeah.
And, but that August, you brought baby girl up to meet me. You brought her to Raleigh. And they both stayed the weekend. And then December, he proposed. So, but yeah, so the fear, yeah.
I think the butterflies were going to be there. And I was wanting that. I told you that in the beginning. I was like, I want someone that's going to make me nervous.
Yeah.
Because I wanted that. I wanted that innocent, pure, love that you go through when you're young. But then when you get older, we kind of put so many limitations and we trying to control the narrative to where you don't know if it's honest or pure at all. So I was looking for that honesty.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was, I tell you, and here's the thing, because of how many people lost loved ones during the pandemic, I'm very, very cautious about even sharing that story because I don't want them thinking at the time where they probably had the worst time of their life, I'm sitting here bragging about it being the best of mine. So it's just weird how some people can take that time frame in a certain way. So I'm very cautious about when we tell that story and how we tell it.
Yeah, and that brings me to the point which goes into just during that time. during that time, just really having a different perspective about life. Because two things happened. My cousin, we were just in New York for my 50th birthday. A lot of my family is in New York because that's where we're originally from. My guy cousin, who played a part in giving me advice about Terrence as we were going through, who is this guy and why is he in my dreams? And my cousin gave me some really good advice. But also, when we were in New York, my cousin, he was so busy because he stayed busy. He's elder, minister in the church, elder, preacher. He was so busy he could not come to see me while we were in New York. And during the pandemic, he was the first one to pass away. And we was like, "What the heck?" Reggie went to the doctor and was right. And what? And he passed away suddenly. So that was that made me look at life totally different. The other thing is that my first cousin on my father's side, who was one of my bridesmaids, Lisa, my very first cousin, we're like sisters. She was one of my bridesmaids, and this was when Terrence and I were talking, and her fiance was rushed to the hospital, and she could not be there with him because of the pandemic. And so she was very stressed out. And so the whole time, me and Tammy were like, we were like right there for Lisa, like, because she was freaking out because she could not go to the hospital with her fiance. She could not be there. So we were there for her, like just saying, calm down, Lisa. Well, one Thursday night, I was on the phone with Terrence, and she beeped in and she said, "Derek died." I said, "What?" He had died from COVID. And so I say that to say, by the time it came to me and Terrence meeting each other face to face, my perspective about life, it was like, I'm going to enjoy every moment. I'm going to take this day by day. I have no expectation. I don't know what's going to happen the next day. I'm just enjoying life as we know it right now, because things are happening fast. It's happening quickly. And so that was the perspective that I went into this. And that was the perspective I maintained throughout our courtship. That was the perspective. It still is my perspective. But I say that to say, life was happening so fast, didn't have time to have any fears. If any fears wanted to creep in, it was like, let's enjoy it while we can. The fears didn't come from us going, having a fear of each other. It came from the outside world. What the heck is going on? And so, yeah.
Trying to put stipulations and regulations and everything else on what was going on around us.
We were walking around in masks and couldn't kiss and then this and that and this. And so I would say work on those fears. And if you if you feel fear, feel it and do it anyway. Do it. Let your faith overrule your fear. Because soon as you make the faith move, it breaks fear.
And it's funny you say that, because I was waiting to just say this. Love is a faith move.
It is a faith move.
So once you make a faith move, it opens up for you to make another faith move, and then another. And before you know it, you're on your third, fourth, fifth date.
Yeah.
And you're not even thinking anymore about that fear of should you or shouldn't you approach someone.
Right. Well, we hope this helps. Drop in the comments. I break the spirit of fear. I break the spirit of fear in Jesus' name. I break the spirit of fear.
Yes, because we're going to go into 2026 with people being delivered.
Yes.
For everything that they want, everything that they've been struggling through,
everything that you've been asking
God to unblock. We're going into 2026
free. So no more holdups.
Yes. So we're gonna make it do what it do.
Yes. All right.
And with that being said, we look forward to seeing you guys on our next video.
Peace.
Peace.